Okay, guys, I guess we can start. My name is Andrew Kislov. This is kind of opening of our series of FasTalks. Today we are going to talk with Darlan Moraes from Brazil, who used to be creative director in a number of BBDO. He will make his introduction himself. So I'll tell you about structure of what's going to be today. So the first, how it goes. So the first thing, we will make a short introduction, both of us, and then we will have talk one with each other. We will ask a number of questions one to each other. I will ask questions to Darlan about how things at BBDO is working, what is the life of creative director, how does this guy measure their efficiency of all these creative things which they doing. And Darlan will ask something me. I don't know what, but I guess it will be somehow related to brain and neuroscience. So I guess it will take about 30, maybe 40 minutes to answer these questions. It will be not about kind of a battle. It will be, I guess, more like just chatting one with each other and kind of this talk. And then we'll probably will have some space for your questions, and we'll talk with all of us. So I would like to ask to switch on all the mics. If you are not me or Darlan, you can write your questions to the chat, and we will see them and ask. Okay, so Darlan, can you please start with some short introduction about you?
Yeah, thank you, Andre. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. Great opportunity to be here chatting with you. My name is Darlan. I'm Brazilian. As he said, I used to work in Eastern Europe and Russia for about 15 years as a creative director, mostly in several different places: Slovakia, Czech Republic, Romania, Latvia, Russia. So I used to be a creative director in these countries. And then after I came back to Brazil, I founded my own company, which is approximating businesses in between these parts of the world. So today I do soft landing, which means that I take companies from that part of the world that would like to do business in Brazil, and I try to accommodate them here. And I also take companies from Brazil and from Latin America that would like to go and make business in these faraway places for Brazilians. So I am a business bridge builder today. And I used to work with advertising agencies and advertising for about more than 20 years. And I see here, for example, Julia, that used to be my client in Latvia. So hello, Julia. Nice that you're joining. And anyway, very happy to be here and very happy to be chatting with you, Andre.
Yeah, I'm happy to chatting with you, Darlan. So short intro about me. I am Andrew Kislov. I am a neuroscientist by education and, let's say, entrepreneur by spirit. So I started to be interested in brain since I was about 15 years old. That's why I came to university and get a bachelor's degree in psychophysiology, then master's in cognitive neuroscience. Now I'm finishing my PhD degree in the field of neuroscience of decision making. So I mainly study how brain works, how it's makes decisions, and not just all the decisions, but economic decisions about purchase, how consumer brain works, how it's affected by emotions, by some kind of irrationality. So there is actually lots of unanswered questions which we study in the science. And on the other hand, about 5 years ago, me and partners, we founded a brain company, and brain company used to be neuromarketing agency, where we look to how consumer brain works. So I mean that we pick guys from target audience from the largest brands, pick them to our lab, put electrodes to their head, and look how brain responses to the different advertising, to the games, to the interfaces. So each second we'll look to the brain and understand what right now is the level of engagement, of cognitive load, of memorization of the content, what are emotions right now. And all these materials made it possible to understand how to improve game, to make it more involving, to make interface more easier to use, to make advertising with just right emotions, things like that. So we have been making it for about 4 years, and 1 year and a half, I just understood that what we're doing is super interesting, super scientific, and of course much deeper than any interview or focus group, because we get data not just from what people say, but what's going on in their brain. It's much deeper level of understanding of consumer. But however, it takes about 2 or 3 weeks, and it's really expensive to make this narrow study. So we started to think how to put all these statistics, all these methodologies and neuroscience to something which can work remotely and in an automated way. And this is how idea of FasTalk came into my mind. We founded this company this April in the United States. This July, we raised our first venture investment round and started our expansion abroad. And at the moment, we have partnership in a number of regions in the world, like in USA, in India, Mexico, France, Netherlands, Saudi. So there is a number of regions where we have partnerships, and we actually develop quite fast and interesting way. So this is it about me. I would stop here with my introduction, and we can start with questions to Darlan.
All right. So actually, it's very interesting what you have said about, advertising in terms of like, how did you talk to them and how you really communicate? Because in advertising, time is really money. It's kind of a cliche, but it's true. And I'd like to ask you, the first question from my side is like, in this term, are you contacted more by brands or by agencies themselves for your services? Which is the target that you are most contacted from?
Well, actually, so our service, we sell it through partners. So in each region where we present it, we not working directly with brands. So we work directly with brands only here in Russia at the moment, because we just know these brands and we know how to work with them. That's why we work directly with brands only in Russia. But in the other parts of the world, we don't work with brands directly, and even more, we don't want to work with them directly. So we work through partners. We have partners in these regions who go to them. And these partners are usually research agencies, not creative agencies, not media agencies, but just research agencies who already has these clients in their portfolio and who go to them and ask to make something new, more efficient, and more in-depth analysis. So we, asking your question, we are contacted more by agencies, not by brands, but it not because we don't, we just do not, let's say, pay attention to the work directly with brands. This is our strategy, not to be contracted with them directly.
I see. All right. So your turn.
Yeah, my first question to you: how does the advertising industry in general consider the question of testing creative materials? So I mean that imagine that you make some new creative materials, you have new as a campaign. Does it really important? Is it really important step to make this test before launching a new campaign?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Actually, it is the agency, like it's divided in departments, and there are like reactions from that in several different ways. Yeah, I am a creative director. I was a creative director. So from my specific department, there's a lot of resistance towards that because, we as creative people, we like to put our creative efforts there and would like to see them a little bit untouched from the time we create to the time that goes to TV or to digital. But it's not like that. There's a lot of people involved. And if you look at the other departments, like account department, or even a strategic department, or even sometimes the owner of the agency, if the client is very important, we'll definitely look at that very seriously. Honestly, from myself, I will talk about myself. I can talk about the general perception of creatives is that they don't like it. Myself, I do, because I think creativity must be connected with good strategy and must bring results. And if the way to results is to improve things towards a research or towards a neuroscience kind of test or anything like that, I'm very welcoming for that. So let's say the traditional, I wouldn't say the traditional, but like the creative more like as a in general terms, they don't like it. They want to see their creativity as they created and they love it so much. It's like their little baby. But as myself, as a creative director, yes, I welcome that. Accounts departments welcome that. Strategic departments that I praise a lot, because creativity without strategy is just an empty exercise, I welcome that. So in general terms, creatives usually lose. And even if the owner is a creative director, like Marcelo Serpa from BBDO Brazil, that used to be like a creative director as one of the legends of advertising. If the creative director becomes a businessman, really in the sense of owning the agency, he's going to welcome that. So to make the long story short, it is necessary to improve. Sometimes you lose something, the creativity here and there, but the final result must get to sales, must get to awareness. And if this is helping, let's use it.
And short question, who really needs it in agency? So for example, in agency, there is lots of employee, of course, who really need this test inside agency? And who pays for it?
Well, it's not inside the agency, it's the client that needs at the end of the day, yeah? So the client, that's the one that is going to be looking forward for the results. Because if you do, let's say, okay, let's take a scenario that does not exist, where a creative guy goes, approves something, presents the client is happy and everything goes beautiful, but then it fails as a result. That is a big mess. They can leave the client, and a client leaving the agency, especially like a big one, is like an elephant on the boat. It's hard to get in and it's hard to get out. So you really have to be careful when you talk about, let's say, Beeline or Mercedes that comes in and after, let's say, some bad results in their campaigns, they leave. So you are very careful. You're treating like very carefully your clients, and it's not inside that they need. What they do as a common agreement to say, okay, let's just test that, or even sometimes the client, Andre, is the one asking for it. Many times it's coming from the client side because it's their money at the end of the day. It's them, and a TV spot is expensive, putting on air is expensive. So if you are doing that in a process of spending from $10,000 to $1 million, let's say, and the process fails, is a lot of money that you lose. So sometimes even the agency is quiet, but the client asks for it and say, I want to see that research. And then we do the research because client is the king.
Yeah. And am I right? So you often can be in kind of position to the tests. So you have creative ideas as a creative director, and there is some research and tests, and they are in a position one with each other. Guys from creative agency actually really don't like these activities. Yeah.
No, they feel, and I was fighting a lot about that with my team. Creativity is not art. Creativity is a way of business. Of course, you can use art as a mean to attach people, to create awareness, but it's not art. Art is something that you do it in a more free manner. Advertising is about results with creativity. That's the beauty of it. That's why I love strategy, because strategy connected to good creativity can get you to results and to creative stuff that can be amazing. But usually the creative guys are very egoistic about their ideas. They want to have like, oh, I know I am creative. They look a little bit like they're special kind. They're not. They're nice professionals. They're creative, but they should go for the rules. And the rules in advertising is about results, awareness, sales, results. Results is the name of the game. So if you don't do results, you can be a good creative, but then go open an atelier and go paint, go do some art or something.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Now your turn to ask me.
Yeah, sure. It would be interesting to understand, Andre, if there's any, like, if by any chance any client try to influence the results of your tests, because sometimes, let's say, a client likes more one idea over the other, or sometimes there's a pressure for this one to goes on air and not the other. So there has been any kind of situation where you have been influenced to like go for one idea versus the other?
There were some situations like that, not exactly, but some close to it. So it was actually not. It was in my previous company, in Brain Company, when we made this neuromarketing research. And our one client, quite big corporation, Russian, they changed their marketing communications. They had new TV campaign, and then new vice president marketing came to this company and said something like, "Hey guys, what's going on TV? I don't like what you've done. Please tell me you are wrong or prove somehow that you are right." And we've been asked to compare new campaign with old campaign to show that new campaign is better than the old one, to let's say make sure that new guys and making all the stuff in a good way and vice president might consider that everything is okay. So we run a test, and fortunately the real results shown that the new campaign is really better than the older version. And we of course never going to influence the data and show not what we really done in the lab, but at this case we really shown that the new campaign is better than the old one, and vice president and guys who just asked us to make this research, they were just happy because they shown that everything is okay here. So it was something. Well, they of course wanted to make this campaign better, but anyway,
they didn't get it to there.
Yeah. Okay, my question for you is, which methods of testing creatives are used in advertising agencies usually?
Well, basically, it's this question. I have to put some like aspect that is quite important. I am not in the position of a creative director since I came back to Brazil. So actually, I will tell you something that goes until 2012, because after that, like I said in the beginning, I decided to open my own company and I do something different today. But at the time I was working there in agencies, it was the good old focus group, the good old researches with the fake mirror. And that was one of the points that, you know, whenever you do this kind of, let's put it in this way, it's kind of staged because a person which is invited for that. And that's what the point for the creatives that did not like research was exactly like that. Two main points. They always used to say to me in different agencies that I worked. First, they used to say to me, Darlan, when you test a Hollywood film, a feature film, no matter, let's say Spider-Man, they shoot the film and then they do the research. They put the people inside the theater and then the people watch the movie and give their comments and things like that. And in our case, in advertising, we were doing via animatics or via other means that would not be the real stuff. Yes, it's true. So we used to do via animatics, fake mirror, and it was another, let's say, if it was a campaign related to print or something like that, it was these people in the room giving their opinion. And that was the second point from the creative people. They were saying, look, this guy is right. He's leaving from his home. He's getting paid. He's sitting somewhere and he's not going to say anything. Of course, he's going to say something. And usually people like to criticize more than to say good things about it. They have a point here, you know. Actually, I have to say that it's true. I mean, I was myself frustrated sometimes with some comments from these people that have been researching, that have been invited for the research, and they were like pretty silly. But at the end of the day, you know, you do what you have to do. That was available. We could not afford, and I don't think this exists to date, of having a TV spot actually shot and going to research, unless the TV spot was really bad, and then they do that. But in normal, regular terms, you do the focus group or you do the research with these people via animatics, showing something that looks like what's going to be the end result. And then at the end of the day, to take some conclusions. But also there's a good thing here, an important thing here to be said, the common sense of client and agency, because agency and client is like a marriage. Really like a marriage. When a client chooses an agency, it's like they marry with it. And marriages have ups and downs, like with clients. But if there's dialogue, open dialogue in a good way, you can always look at the results, not like let's implement everything, but let's look carefully and let's preserve what we believe as an agency and as a client. And that's very important. I don't know how is it today, because it's been 8 years already, which I'm off, but I still believe that most of the research is done like that. I don't think there's going to be any kind of shooting the whole thing, then researching like they do in future. So we have to do and do, we have to do with what is available, you know?
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Great.
Your turn.
So, yeah, this is actually a question which is exactly with a lot of what I've been telling in our chat, Andre, is about that creative people, they tend to dislike research, claiming that kills spontaneity, kills the creative spirit. What's your opinion about that? Like, as let's say you're on the other side of the table. Yeah, I spoke as a creative person myself. Yeah. Now I'd like to hear your point of view about that, please.
Well, from my point of view, actually, the best thing I think this is creation of some new cool creative things and data analytics and research and other tests is somehow like a marriage also. So they might be the pair one with each other, and the real professional from my point of view, and the real professional in creation of a new marketing communication is a guy who of course is super creative, who generates lots of interesting ideas, approaches to the customers and all these things. But on the other hand, he trusts the data and makes decisions based on the data. So professional is not just a creative guy, but the professional is a creative guy who knows how to get the insights from the audience, knows how to analyze them, and based on these answers, based on this data, can make new creative answers and new creative solutions. So what is going in a marketing research and for what is dedicated basically is that in marketing research it's possible to somehow highlight some problems which creative people just cannot see, because they are just, you have one profile, I have another, I have different opinions and different views, and my target audience can have another point of view of what we make. And market research can highlight you that there is a problem. And what creative guys should do is to be able to analyze what is the problem, what is in the core of this problem, and create some suitable solution for this. So this is, from my point of view, is what professional in this area might be and might do.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Like I said, I think it has to be data and creativity. Actually, just to make a point, Andre, I see some questions popping up here, and whenever we finish, we will be taking the time to answer. So if you'd like to keep sending your questions, please feel free, but we're gonna move on with our dynamics. And then after, we will be very happy to be answering the questions coming from the audience.
I get a question from Paul van der Veer. I will add to one of mine. I have something similar here, so maybe we'll a bit mix up these things. Okay, but now it's my turn.
Yes.
How ad creators and creative departments really understand the quality of the creatives? So how just, for example, I'm a creative guy and I made something. So how it's possible to evaluate my work? How the decision about that I've done everything in a way is made?
Yeah, again, I'm going to slice it up a little bit. Creative guys, they have their own guts and they think they are doing absolutely great and they know what you're doing. Okay, I get this point. I'm a creative myself. So what the strategic department does is look if it reflects the strategy, because again, a creative work without strategy is just an empty exercise. I used to compare, Andre, with surgery, yeah? If you do surgery, like real clients and real assignments for real, like real world surgery, like a surgery in real people. If you just do creative, like for festivals and that are not like, let's say the reality, but just to win a festival, you're doing surgery in a doll.
Yeah.
If the doll is dead, because it's dead anyway, you just throw it away and take a new doll. So basically what you have to do is always look at creativity as something that has to reflect strategy reflect the client's objectives, and then come to the point where it's going to deliver what the client is looking for. This is not about, it is about some kind of compromise, but it's a compromise which is thought over. It's not like, okay, whatever the client says, I'm going to do. No, it's like I said, it's like you married to someone, you're going to debate over things and try to come with the best result, hopefully without going to, let's say, a divorce. Because when a client leaves, it's a divorce. So basically, at the end of the day, Andre, it's about the people in the agency. They want to have these results because they want to have the best clients in the market, you know. So at the end of the day, you have to really have this common sense. And again, the creative people, most of them do not like it, but they accept it. And the other departments, account department, strategic department, and the other departments, they tend to play in a way that they want to see the best result, the best creativity with the best result, not only the best creativity. Sometimes the mistake, let's put it in this way, of many creatives is that is creativity per se, creativity for the sake of creativity. I don't buy that, as you probably realize, and who is watching as well. I love creativity that resonates with a great result. And this is going to be worked all over the agency. It's a common effort. It's not something that you take it as a baby, you go and hide from the strategic department, you hide from the account, then you take it to the client says, oh, you see, my baby's beautiful, please, you know, it's not like that. So it's a common effort. You have to do it together. You have to look very much to strategy. Without strategy, no way. And then you go to the market and try to have the best results.
And am I right? So, but usually, often in creative agencies, the evaluation of the work is based just on a common sense. So, for example, I am a creative guy, I made something, and my creative director, like you, for example, say to me that I've done everything in a cool way. And it means that I've done everything in a cool way, and this is it. So this is the point of evaluation.
No, it's there are like parameters from creative, there are parameters from strategy, and they have to debate with each other. You know, when agency that I work in Czech Republic, one of the first thing I did, because there was a huge stress between creative and strategy, is that I put a white flag over the over the entrance of the door dividing the two departments, because it's not a fight, you know. So at the end of the day, it's like I did, as a creative director, my work based on my creative standards and my creative, like, pool of points that I believe that they are going to sell. And then the strategy is going to come and try to debate over that. And then there's a dialogue in between them until you take to the account department. The account department will have their own opinion, and then it goes to the client. So it's like very much of a common sense, common work, teamwork. There's supposed not to be a fight in between the departments. Sometimes it happens, but it's not supposed to be.
But anyway, these debates and these communications are based on the opinions, right? Not just real data, but usually it's opinions. So.
Yeah, opinions and the brief. The brief is very important. What are the objectives? Yeah, opinions in one side, but the objective, the client wants to sell more. And then you have to have a creative that resonates about selling, you know, what kind of directions you're going to take. You know, if you're going to tell, I want to sell more, and then you take some kind of route that does not sell because of it's just about image, is not going to work. So the brief, which is the common document written by account and strategy given to the creative, is the very benchmark, because there you have the very clear objectives that were discussed with the client prior to the brief to arrive at the creative department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your turn.
All right. Yeah, it's my turn. It's very interesting to understand in terms of what do you think about the regular Russian customer in terms of being more emotional or more rational. There's a comparison that, because I lived in many countries, like I have said, and the point is that Russians are very emotional, like Brazilians. We are more into from the heart than to the mind. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your point of view whenever you have seen these people being in your neuroscience tests. How do they react? Are they more emotional, more rational, or what?
Yeah. The first thing I'd like to mention that basically it was shown about 20 years ago that all people as the Earth, all human beings, doesn't matter whether they are from Brazil or from Russia or from UK or from everywhere else, are not rational. So we all human beings are emotional. So emotions drive our decisions. Most the real about, let's say, 9 out of 10 our decisions are based on our emotions. And purchase decisions as well. So it was shown by Daniel Kahneman and his colleagues, and he received the Nobel Prize in 2002. They just ruined the previously dominating so-called neoclassical economic theory, which was about that we human beings are making decisions in a rational way, and this guy has shown that it is not true. So we're not able to make any rational decisions. Well, we can, but this is not a real case in the real life. Imagine you go to the shop and you see lots of juices. For example, in the usual shop, there is about, let's say, 40 different items, 40 different juices, and about, let's say, 10 different orange juices. And you just cannot easily understand how this juice differ one from each other by some rational parameters. This is just impossible to evaluate it by definition. And it's really hard, even it's possible to evaluate somehow, let's say by the taste. Let's say the taste is something objective. This is not something objective, but let's imagine this is so. Even you know exactly taste of each orange juice, you have to calculate somehow its ratio with the price for its juice. And understand what is the best decision for you to make based on the comparison of your future benefits from this juice and the costs like a price, and make the decision. But in the real life, it's not possible to make such things. So we make decisions in an intuitive, irrational, emotional way. Most of our decisions are made like this. And so in general, all people in the earth, in Russia and in Brazil, are irrational. Somehow, of course, they might change. They might be not so. Of course, there might be some differences between us and between UK, and we have different values and approaches to decision making. But to be honest, at the near level, we currently cannot understand what is going on with this person, whether this person is more rational or it's more emotional guy, and how it's changing in different cultures in Russia or in Brazil at the near level. So no one knows the answer, and me as well. So I cannot answer your question whether we can see difference, whether we are more rational or emotional in Brazil and Russia at the neuroscientific level.
I see. Okay. Yeah, as a just an add-on here, thanks for the answer. It's really clear for me, like living in so many countries like Denmark, like Slovakia, that for me, at least from, let's say, a non-neuroscience point of view, that Russians and Brazilians are definitely more emotional than the other places that I have lived. And also this reflects, I think, in many aspects like literature, like music, you know, like there is something that is quite emotional coming, that I believe comes from the heart to the brain and not from the brain to the other parts of the world, of the body. But it's just the opinion of a known neuroscientist, you know.
Just by common sense, might be something like that. But what I just trying to say that we don't have a strict measure of this stuff at the neuro level.
Yes, I see.
I cannot.
Yes, I understand.
Or not prove this thing, but just as a common sense, not like a neuroscientist, but just like a human, I would agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Great. Thank you. Your turn.
Okay, so my turn. Is there a connection between branding activities, not in performance marketing and not performance activities, but really branding activities, and clear business results? So I mean, imagine that you're making some brand and you spend your money to some brand marketing, to TV, to something else, not just to something measurable in performance, but to branding activities. Do you really can see somehow measurable impact on some business results, like sales, for example, or something like that? How can you understand really can affect?
Well, it's usually done by post research, but it's very, very tricky. And it's very, let's say, in the middle of something. You cannot really have a real result that you can say, okay, this is what happened, unless if of course, you have like very interesting data about sales. Sales is a big name in advertising. You know, if you raise sales 30% or 35%, of course you have a tangible result. But when it comes to something like awareness, that's why I still work with communication with my clients. And sometimes clients, they do, oh, we should not work with communication because it's like money. But awareness is something that it has to be built step by step. And usually it is difficult to measure, but it's paying off middle to long term. So my answer is like that. It is very hard to get something that you can just say, look, this is proven result of awareness of my brand.
Yeah.
But on sales is a bit different. On sales, when it's like a promotion, that's why just clients do so much promotions, because you know people are price driven. They might not be so rational or many things about advertising, but they are more emotional when they see a TV spot. But when it comes to, okay, 20% off, everybody goes for it. So sales is a bit different, and you can measure much better, especially if you throw a promotion on the table, because this is like usually you can see before and after. But awareness, when you have, for example, the sports brands like Nike, like Reebok, and like Under Armour brands that sometimes I do even sometimes work for them still. They spend a lot on this, on image, yes, on image of sportsmen or image of normal people like us doing sports and things. How can you really measure, how can you really measure? So it's not very possible to do it, but they keep doing that. They keep investing on that because it pays off. It pays off when, Andre, when you think middle to long term. If you put and spend $1 million on a beautiful, like Spike Lee's your director, you went to New York, beautiful set, beautiful idea, everything is beautiful, and you want your awareness to raise in 6 months' time, sometimes it's not going to happen. So clients also, they need maturity to go for this kind of standards of advertising. Sometimes for me, when I was working in Eastern Europe and Russia, was coming back in time a little bit, yeah? The clients are not so mature as much as the advertising. I'm not saying that I'm like super mature, but I'm coming from a mature market. And I have to say that sometimes the clients need to be, taught that these things don't happen overnight. So to make the long story short, sales is more easy to put your finger and say, okay, I put 20% off, I'm selling more. Awareness, like image campaigns, whenever you put your brand to emotionally engage someone, it's very hard to say. It's very, very hard to say.
Okay.
All right, so my turn. Just a second, please. Well, this is a very, a question that probably, as it's your field, you probably could take a long time to answer. But this is fascinating to hear from you. What's the most fascinating thing about the human brain, Andre?
Well, actually, the most fascinating thing about the brain is how much it's complex. I think it's complexity. I started to study brain about 10 years ago, and looks like right now I know about brain less than I knew when I just started to study it.
I see.
More I studied, more and answer questions I see, really. So because looks like we knew lots of small things which are actually not so valuable, because we knew just one bit of information, another, the third one, but we absolutely do not see the whole picture still. Not only me, but all neuroscience at the moment do not see the whole picture. And it's just really fascinating because we make our scientific approach. We somehow analyze how brain reacts to one stimuli, to another stimuli. We make cool statistics, and we make all the things which are usually applied in biology and in physics, let's say. So the approaches are, from scientific point of view, are the same, but we still do not know anything about the brain. So because, I would say that in physics, for example, Newton creates first laws of physics. just gravity and all this stuff, just the general laws about how things working. And in neuroscience, still there is no some Newton, there is no still some basic first steps and first laws based on which we can understand all this stuff. So the question is complexity. Yeah, it's fascinating.
All right.
Complexity,
yes.
Yes.
Sorry?
And with this complexity, it works. So your brain work, my brain work, and these other billion people in the world. So somehow each person develops from just one cell to this some super complex. It's very interesting because at the beginning you have just one cell, and then this some interesting Zoom call, neuroscience, Brazil, BBDO, all this stuff are created in our brains just from one cell. This is interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
And yes, so now my turn, right?
Yeah.
From your point of view, this is the last question from me, and then we'll go to the question from the chat. Can artificial intelligence somehow replace creative guys in future from creative agency?
No, I don't think so. I think that the human aspect is even going to be present forever. There is always this question hanging on our heads about how if there's going to be something that's going to be replace human. I don't think so. In terms of whenever you have an input of creativity, whenever you have an input of like something that goes out of the box, yeah, if goes, you know, out of the ordinary stuff can be done by machines. The extraordinary stuff will never be possible to be done. We are very advanced machines. We are machines ourselves. If you look at the aspects that we have, motion, yes, we have motion, and we work with movement. So we are, in a way, machines with a soul, let's put it in this way. So, and we are very advanced. Like you said, you answered a question about the most fascinating thing about brain, and people cannot really get it yet. So for a machine produced by humans to get close to something that you as a neuroscience could never even close to the brain, even without looking at the other parts of the body, even though, of course, the most advanced and the most complex and most fascinating is the brain, no way. And in advertising, I think much less. Even sometimes I do, for example, some adaptation work for Brazil in advertising. Some agencies still call me for that. There are machines that are doing the big translation stuff, which is the heavy, difficult that used to do by other translators, and that I used to just to fine tune and look at the creative, if I could put some creative on top. Mm-hmm. Always there's going to be a human touch. Always there's going to be someone like a human, advanced, machine, if you wish, that will be giving the final touch. So no way to have replacements. And I think agencies, we always need creative people, strategic people to do the work. And this is also extends to many other departments and segments of industries that we have. Unless, it's like I said, the ordinary can be done by machines. The extraordinary, we always be done by humans.
Okay, so it means that we all, but in general, if we want to make something not extraordinary, but something ordinary, in some future, we will be able to make it with just machines. So let's say quite big number of projects in creative industry will be made by machines, not by humans, right?
I don't think so, because what we do, I do believe it's really extraordinary, you know, imagine that an agency is like a factory of ideas that has to take a very clear objective, which is given by them. So before clear objectives, middle creative chaos, and clear objectives. And these objectives have to reach results. So this is extraordinary, yeah? Yep. Imagine that an agency is like a crazy machine, if you wish, that has to put a lot of creative people and strategic people to work together to deliver results that should be very clear. So concrete, abstract, concrete. And this is the middle part, let's call it this way. It's an extraordinary work done by extraordinary agencies. Of course, there are average agencies, but they don't survive because there's a lot of extraordinary people doing extraordinary work over there.
Cool. So I will ask a question from the chat about AI as well. First thing, what do you think is artificial intelligence? Is AI intelligence or imitation? It's provocative.
AI is definitely, in my opinion, I think you better to answer yourself. But anyway, I think AI is definitely intelligence, refined intelligence, getting better and better. Is not imitation because they understand data, they read data, and they take that into account for taking decisions. They are not just like doing, Pink Floyd thing, which is like only robotics per robotic. There's intelligence going on, and there's more and more evolution towards that. So artificial intelligence for me, I worked, for example, with a client for 3 years that have artificial intelligence for their results in email marketing. And it was amazing because, the machine was understanding the behavior of the customer path. Imagine that, the machine was understanding. That's what I'm saying. It's not like, okay, just tell the machine to send the emails. The machine was not sending the emails. The machine was sending the first email, understanding the reaction, if it was open, at what time it was open, what was the reaction of the clouds of words to send the second message in a way that it will be sent in another hour. It will be sent probably with a different headline, and it will be sent with another extra element. Actually, it was a Ukrainian company that I used to work. I had the pleasure to work called Sendpulse, and artificial intelligence was part of it. And it was one of the main competitive advantages that I used to talk a lot here in Brazil, because they are in Brazil still. They're not working with me anymore. We're not working together. So to make the long story short, it's not imitation. It's reading data and acting towards for better results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question for you. Well, if effectivity of creatives is so important to you, should you advise every client to do pretesting?
Protesting. Well, if the results are not good, protest. Of course, you should protest.
How
Yes.
you understand that they are not good before you made the pretest?
Pretest. I understand.
Yeah.
Protests. Sorry. Pretest.
The question is, should you advise every client to do pretesting?
Well, I wouldn't say that for every campaign, but for major campaigns, I would say that is wise because it's a lot of money involved. And I would say yes. I would say that if it's something a little bit more, I would say not so big, but for example, the launch of a rebranding or like a huge new campaign, yes, I would do pretest. Maybe creative people will kill me here, but I will do that because it's all about media dollars and media spending, and every dollar counts. So you should not really play around with that. You may have the best gut feeling in the world as a creative director and say, I believe in this idea. So if you believe it too much, put it to test. If it's so good, it's going to come back with great results. So yes, pretesting, I think it's very important.
Okay. Another question for you. For you, Darlan. Hi, Darlan. Your energy is really infectious, amazing. I want to ask how to educate clients that they need these solutions. They should address the gap, how you can communicate the gap. Angie would love to hear from you on this as well. That's true. Darlan, how to educate clients that they need solutions like this one?
I think that this is a very good question, and it's something that I think it's a combination of this relationship that you gain respect. It's like a relationship, like I said, like a marriage, right? You gain respect from your partner towards your actions. Yes. If you gain respect from your client, they will listen to you, and then you educate them. Because if you're going to go and play a fight and feel that you are fighting boxing or something like that, it's going to end up on someone being knocked out, which is not the result. Yeah. So actually, the education comes with gaining respect. I used to have a Coca-Cola client in Russia when I was working for Publicis. That's, you know, before I was joining Publicis, she didn't listen to anybody, really. She didn't. She used to be like the bossy client from Coca-Cola that was like, that's the way, that's the way, and that's the way. And fortunately, because of many things, I managed to have her calling me. And one day when I was in a meeting and she was calling me, people around the table were like, it's unbelievable that she's calling you to ask things because she didn't used to. But maybe nobody was trying to gain respect, was just like having a dialogue which is like level to level without trying to be like, yes, Mr. Client, and without and trying to fight, because there's a lot of this kind of dilemma. Either you just say, yes, Mr. Client, you open the book and you take the notes, or you're going to fight. I saw many creative directors fighting his client. It doesn't take you anywhere. You're not in a boxing fight, you know. You're trying to get results. So to make the long story short, education towards clients comes, first of all, with respect from the client towards the agency. And then they start to listen to you. But if you start to play like, you know I'm creative, I'm the best, I have so many awards, and, you know, we are #2 in the world, without, you're going to be like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But if you play with, if you have the dialogue of respect and respecting their objectives, without trying to only to defend your idea, then you may go somewhere. But it's a tough road. Whoever made, very good question, whoever made the question, thank you. It's a tough road. It takes a long time, and sometimes might not get to where you're looking for. Yeah, might not get there.
Okay, next question. I would also try to ask it from Rohit. He, by the way, he used to be top manager in Nielsen in India. And so it's very nice to meet you here, Rohit. So the question from Rohit is, are pretests linked to the risk-taking appetite of client? What do you think?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Are pretests linked to the risk-taking appetite of client?
Yes, there.
Yeah.
I would say
mine will be here.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, very high quality audience here that we have. Sometimes the clients, they do that because of to keep their seat safe. Yeah, that's true. That's a client which happens in many places, and it's a big trouble, because what they want to do is not to put out the best creative work or the best TV spot or the best digital campaign. What they want, first of all, is to keep their seat warm. Yeah. Exactly. And this is something, and this is something that I've seen a lot in my career, and I really dislike that. I understand that if you are like, you know, marketing director of Heinz, making thousands of dollars a month, you're not going to put your reputation and your salary at risk because of. But again, these guys, they do not respect the agencies at all. They just want to have the safe, nice, happy family stuff, which I dislike. And I think it happens a lot in advertising for a reason, because many managers, especially middle ranking managers, with all my due respect, that they are not enough, they don't have enough expertise. And then sometimes, because the big guy is somewhere traveling in India or US, you have to talk to the guy doesn't know anything, he doesn't want to take decisions, he is not ready to take decisions, and then he plays safe. And then we have another happy family on air, which it goes like a sheep in the dark, like Mr. Ogilvy used to say, you know, advertising that goes as like a sheep in the dark. It's another happy family, but you see a lot of happy families because you see a lot of brand managers that are looking forward just to keep their seat. And some agencies that do average work as well. I don't want to just put the blame on the brand managers. I also want to say that sometimes agencies, they also want to play safe because they want to keep the client. And that's the most important, because they pay millions a month or millions a year or whatever. So at the end of the day, it's about this good compromise versus the average boring compromise. If you have agency and client looking for excitement, looking for daring, looking for challenges, you can have a lot of amazing work out there. But most of the stuff is done by the Mr. Average agency with the Mrs. Average client that do the big average work that we see a lot in advertising, unfortunately.
Yeah, indeed. So actually what I can see from our perspective, most of the time, research, not only pre-tests, but just a number of different researches are made not to gain insights and not to make something really effective and not to make something really cool, but to be safe. And if it's just an instrument to be safe, right? And
Exactly.
and maybe to spend the budget if they have from head office, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Data which is acquired here is not needed actually to make kind of data-driven decisions. The data which is
Exactly.
the tests often used just to feel safe. That look, dear
Exactly.
marketing director, I made everything in the right way. Uh,
Exactly.
if something will go wrong, this is not my fault. Market goes down. That's why something bad
Exactly.
happening. If a market will go up, I will say, well, look, I made this research and that's why we are rocking.
Got it.
Yes, but any
Yes.
reports are not something which can be usually often in real life as an instrument to make these decisions, to make data-driven decisions.
Exactly.
And to be honest, this is what we're really trying to change somehow.
But this is happening a lot, unfortunately. I mean, we spoke about many aspects here during our chat that were not. That's why this question, I really praise whoever did this question, because the reality of agencies and clients should have a doses of excitement, challenge, daring. Fortunately, I was trying my best, and then sometimes I achieved to do that. But many creative people or many agencies are just doing whatever the clients say, open the book, take the notes, and that's it. And that's good. That's bad for advertising, you know. That's why most of the advertising sucks at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so here's the last question from Anna Krylov. Nice to see you. A marriage of creativity and neuroscience is, of course, a great idea, but how to implement it into practice? Darlan, then let you answer, and then I will also figure out
Yeah.
this topic.
Well, I think that the implementation goes about exactly having the good compromise. Yeah, looking. I mean, not playing again, not playing like boxing, which is a fight. Who's going to win, the data or the creativity? It's like, how can we win data with creativity? So it's about looking at the results, trying to make a good compromise. When I say good compromise, it's not so easy, but it happens. So for me, that's why I said in the beginning, I love strategy. Strategy is about data too. And I put on air many work that was strategically good and creative good. It's tough. Yes, it's tough. But if you are playing partners with your strategic department, with your client, and so on and so forth, and you create a good compromise, I quite believe that this is possible. I quite believe this is possible. What is the point that probably is coming from the question is that usually creative people, they close themselves and they say, oh, my idea is great and I just want to do that and I believe in it and let's go for it. And that's not going to happen. So if you are open and you say, okay, what this data can help my creative, then you can have a good result. And then you can have also better results towards the client, towards the campaign in itself.
Okay, well, from my point of view, to make this kind of marriage of creativity and neuroscience, we need two things. The first thing, we need neuroscience to be cheap, affordable, scalable, open, easy to use, and understandable by each individual who is involved in this process. So in the case, so we need some tool, some instrument, which can somehow provide the data in affordable and fast and cheap and easy to understandable way. So that's the first thing we need to make this marriage. And the second one, we need some kind of a shift, some kind of a new education for creative people in agencies, how they can produce these creatives. Of course, it's not so easy because creative agency have their own process, how to make this creative work, and they usually, like all other human beings, do not like to change something in their life. Yeah, let's be honest. And each new process is not something which can be work really easy way. But to make this marriage, we need to somehow educate creative people in agencies that they can use such tool, which can be made. They, if they have some hypothesis, some idea, they can easily test it, get reliable, accurate data, and then use it to make the next step of the production. So let's say I have an idea of the new brand. Let me check whether this idea is cool. I then create new name for the brand. I would like to check whether it associates with the right things and delivers a message. I create a logo. Does this logo correspond to with my name, with my category, with my brand? And then I make a static ad. Does the static ad evoke emotions which I'd like to evoke? Does it deliver the message I'll try to put here? So, and we need to make some kind of this process inside agency where every creative guy can somehow ask the question in some way and deliver very in a fast way, accurate results that look, this is the best logo here, this is the best static ad, and this naming is super bad. You don't have to use this one, you better use another. So if we'll have this tool and we'll have this process, it might work. And this tool actually is already here, fastest. So actually, we're trying to build something like that, and we're trying to make the process work in this way. Of course, it's not going so easy, but still, I personally believe this is something what we might have to make the best results and to make research not just something to make manager feel safe, but to make it this Java, the data, something which can be used to make data-driven decisions.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted thank you for the answers, but I wanted to ask, I mean, yeah, the theory is clear that you should combine it, but when you are in the creative process, how do you invent things based on the plan? Because if you invent things, your fantasy flows freely, and when you make it to the plan, you make it according to the plan. So how to combine this in practice when you need to make a media concept and so on? Some tricks maybe.
Okay, it's myself, Andrei, I believe. I should answer.
I guess it's
okay. Anna, it's about that. I mean, I see now better your question. Actually, it starts with the creative and the intuition and the references that you use and all that you use from your brain and from your creativity per se. After you have some kind of result, which you believe that, you know, is like a scribble of it, yes, something that is already have been born from your, let's say, brain, from your thoughts, from your creativity, then you put that versus the data, yes, not trying to use the data, let's say, prior to this creative moment of yours, yeah. At the end of the day, you are receiving the brief with the objectives, you're creating yourself, you're doing your own brainstorming, using your techniques that sometimes people don't have, some other people do. Only after you have something in your hands, 1, 2, 3 routes, creative routes that are, you know, worth it to be discussed, then you may, you know, leverage against data information that you may have, because this is going to be, I think, productive. If you are just getting all this data to try to create something, you're going to go absolutely mad. Yeah, I think it's not going to help before the process, but as a benchmark for after you create something, then I believe it can really be really helpful. So I understand better your question now. The creative methods or the creative, let's say, moment per se is still in between you and your computer, or your pen and the white paper or the white screen. Then you do something with it, but first you have to create from your own, from your guts, from your feelings, from your references, from the art that you love, from the films that you love, and then you move on, take the data and see if you can fine-tune here things here and there.
So
I hope I answered you.
Create first, and then you edit it according to the strategy.
Exactly. No, you're talking about data, right? You're talking about data.
I mean,
analytics.
What you call results, something that you have clear objective, but creativity doesn't work with clear objective.
creativity in advertising must. It must. Creativity
Exactly, that
must.
is the question. How do you do it?
Well, how do you do it is like I said, you take the objectives that you have from the client, you create something on your own, based on your own. That's why being creative is a very tough job, because I was explaining before, you know, what is before coming to an agency, what's the output. The before, the objectives are very clear, the after is very clear, and in the middle is like a little bit of a chaos. But this chaos has to be you with your thoughts and your ideas, and then you leverage them. That's what I think. The strategy is important, again, to leverage. So you look what you create, you look after, and you leverage versus you do retro engineering, if you wish. What I'm trying to say with that, you are creating, you are putting your brain to work. It's this amazing thing called brain, like Andre said, and then you put it there, out there, and then you leverage against data, you leverage against strategy, and then you do retro engineering to see if it fits everything that is expected. It's retro engineering that you must do, because if you're going to take all this data and all this strategy to do creative, you're going to be blocked. You're going to be blocked.
Okay,
you see what I mean? You're welcome.
Well, we a bit ran out of our time. I guess it's was our last question, and I supposed to stop here. If you have any other question, you can write to us, and we will try to answer them. I'd like to thank all of you for your interest and attention and emotions which you are here, for your questions and interest. Of course, I would like to say many thanks to Darlan. It was very nice to speak to you today. I was quite excited by your answers. It was really interesting for me to hear it from you. Yeah, and thank.
Yeah. So I like to say the same. I like to say thank you very much, Andre, for the opportunity. And thank you very much also, audience, that was high quality by the questions we have got. I can see there's a lot of amazing people out there. And if you have further questions, please send it out and let's keep answering them, because, you know, your questions have been I have been to many lives and to many, let's say, situations like that. But actually the level of questions for me were absolutely top notch, really, really good. So thank you, audience. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you again.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.